sing, play every day. See your frown now melt away. Jump up high up in the air. Feel the joy now everywhere. Swim up, run up to the shore. Open your heart more, more, more. Shayla, 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 la, la. Shayla, 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 la, la. Shayla, 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 la, la.
Hi, my name is Key Fitch, and welcome to the reboot of the Pink Powerhouse Show, brought to you by Society Bites Radio, which is a part of the Radio Ear Network family. So I am super excited for a variety of reasons. Today, the first episode in March, which also happens to correspond with Women's History Month. It's such an amazing time. We've been kind of off the air, reevaluating and getting some things done to bring you a brand and new version of the Pink Powerhouse Show that I think you guys have really enjoyed. We took our time to make sure that the framework of the show was such that we are empowering the community that we want to empower, and we have a lineup of guests who we think you all will learn some very beneficial things from. And I am so super excited and over the top, like just geeked that my first guest happens to be a longtime friend who I think you will find who has an amazing story of just finding your calling in every aspect of your life. But before I get to this interview, let me tell you a little bit more about her. First, let me say that I said she's a friend. She happens to be a lawyer. She's an amazing mom and wife. She is a community advocate, a social advocate, and just here recently now, she's an accomplished author, and she is a reviewer of children's books. So that's just on the surface, but I'm going to give you some more information about her, some more details. Her name is Janice Shelton. And you'll find this out. She's worn many hats in her lifetime. Her current and most cherished position is being a mom to her beautiful daughters. Before becoming a mom, she graduated from Emerson College and pursued a career as a news producer. As someone who lives with lupus, we were just talking about a flare-up she had here recently, never stops her though. Janice was forced to chart a new course mid-career, one that will provide a more flexible work schedule than live television. She found her home at the grassroots planning organization Scope, which is based in LA.
No, it was in Sarasota.
Sarasota,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
they have Scope.
It's closed.
It's closed.
Yeah, it's closed now. But yeah, no, it was in Sarasota. It stood for Sarasota County Openly Plans for Excellence.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
And again, she is a grassroots movement type of person. So again, you'll find this out as we talk about how she got to be at the point where she is now, drawing on all these life experiences. But anyway, back to her. At Scope, she was the director of communications and development. And now fast forwarding a few years, when I actually got to meet her, right after she finished with her law degree, she began volunteering her time as in the legal aid world, as a intake liaison for the ACLU. Today, she is a full-time stay-at-home mom, and she continues to pursue a career as a freelance writer. Her topics include speeches, human interest stories about her hometown, Sarasota, and a daily Instagram blog called Carline Picks, and we'll touch on that in detail here shortly. With Carline Picks, she reviews her favorite children's books for raising conscious kids. Here recently, she published her first children's book, and I'm going to have her pronounce it because I always butcher it.
It's Fidu's Forest.
Fidu's Forest.
That's good.
Thank you. On most days, though, you can find her driving around in her minivan, loaded with snacks, with her after-school activity gear, a basket full of picture books, and her laptop, which she writes her book reviews in while she's waiting in the school car lines. Welcome, Janice.
Thank you for having me.
I am so honored right now that you are the kickoff person to the reboot, because I think you represent, I think, women's history, and I think what you embody so many different, you're very multifaceted and very a good multitasking. But I want to talk a little bit about how your life kind of evolved to this point, how you went from being, a lawyer, social advocate. Now you're here as a mom writing books for conscious kids.
Yeah. So, well, my whole initial plan was to be an international journalist.
Okay.
And travel the world. That
Okay.
was, I speak a couple of languages. I'm the child of immigrants. I grew up overseas. And I like to talk. I like human stories.
Yes.
I like helping people. I love information. So I mixed all that together, became a journalist and fell in love with, do you remember Christiane Amanpour?
Yeah.
From CNN?
Yeah.
She was my idol.
Okay.
Like I saw a clip of her where she was reporting from some war zone and this like bomb went off and her whole hair just like kind of launched forward and she blinked a couple of times and she just kept going. And I was like, I want to be her.
I want to be her.
Yeah. So I ended up getting lupus.
How old were you when you were diagnosed with lupus?
I always forget like the freshman, sophomore, junior, because we don't do it that way.
Yeah.
But so the third year, freshman, that is junior year.
Junior
of
college?
Yeah.
Okay.
At the free clinic at
Okay.
Mass General. No one could figure out what was wrong. And I finally ended up in the free clinic at Mass General. And the doctor there, who was like in his 80s, said, I think this is lupus, which I never, had heard of it. And coincidentally, it was right when I had like this really big dream come true. I had won one of 3 internships with CBS News in New York.
Okay.
With Good Morning with Sunday Morning with Charles Kuralt. Yeah.
Wow.
And I couldn't go because I was really sick. So I remember I called up the lady. I still remember her name, Eldra Gilman at CBS. And I was like, please, I can't come. I'm really sick. Can I please just do an internship, over the winter? And she was really kind and she let me come back. And I did 48 hours in Biography Today.
Oh, wow.
For a month. And I thought, lupus, like don't care, was in total denial. I, like mind over matter, I can do this. And I just ended up crashing, my last year of college and, I couldn't get dressed on my own. Yeah. I lived on the 3rd floor and I'd have to plan when I would go out because it would take me so long to walk up and down the stairs that I would just want to leave like once a day. So
For our listeners who may not be aware what lupus is, can you just describe so they can get a sense of how it could be debilitating in terms of things that you want to do?
Yeah, so lupus is an autoimmune disorder, and it's basically, to simplify it, your body is allergic to itself. Yeah. So it will go, it thinks your heart or like the sac around your heart is foreign, so it'll start attacking it. Or your lungs, or your kidneys. So like I have a scarred, like from pericarditis, the sac around my heart is scarred. I've lost some kidney function permanently from a flare. You can have organ damage from it. So it's a potentially deadly illness, but nowadays they control it a little better. There's not a whole lot of funding. It's primarily a female disease. Yeah. It's very prevalent in the African American community. Also the Mediterranean, Adriatic, which that's my background. So it's a debilitating illness, but I'm type A, so I just
you're gonna muscle through it. You're gonna go through it.
I just push through it. Yeah.
And so that was during there was an undergraduate career that you were diagnosed.
Yeah.
And you still went on and did all these other amazing things.
Still wanted to be in TV. Worked as a news producer for ABC7, and ended up in the hospital really hardcore. And my doctor was like, you're dying. And so I needed to change career. And so I kind of was just like, what am I going to do now? Because I find my value in being useful to the world.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just kind of how I grew up. I had some great teachers that taught us, the importance of being socially engaged. And I really that was like my identity. Like, it was my religion. Like, I need to feel like I'm being helpful. And if I couldn't do the journalism thing, which is what I had planned for my whole life, I was kind of like, now what?
Now what?
And I ended up meeting a mentor who pointed out scope. And, it was a brand new thing, grassroots organizing. But pretty much if you can talk to people, you can talk to people whether you're, doing a news production or whether you're talking to people who want change in their community. I mean, they're all stories, right? They're all stories.
All human interactions.
Yeah. So I started working for Scope. And then decided, maybe I can go to law school and do a little more than just like writing press releases and fundraising, which, fundraising, asking people for money is difficult.
And it kind of sucks.
It sucks.
It's hard. It's hard, and it's not.
It is.
It's hard. It's tough, and it's hard.
Because you like someone a lot, and then sometimes they see you coming around the corner and they go running in the opposite direction.
They know why you're coming.
And you feel like, I don't want you to think I like you because I'm asking you for money. I feel like I used car salesman. So I thought I'm going to go to law school because then I don't ever have to ask anybody for money again. So
that's an interesting reason to go to law school.
Well, to keep sort of in the vibe of being able to do good.
Yes.
But I don't want to ask anybody
still
for anything.
So in social justice type career. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So, law school was amazing and again, really difficult. Everything that I choose to do, I get frustrated at times because the lupus makes it like 10 times harder. Yeah. With the lupus, you suffer from what they call the halo effect. So you look fine. Like no one thinks there's anything wrong with you, Yeah. So you could do great on a million papers in school, and then you have that one flare and you don't make it in time to hand in your paper, even though it was ready. And, they're still giving you the F because they're kind of calling you out on, I don't really believe the whole lupus thing. So it's hard.
Amazing.
So it's hard because you feel misunderstood and judged, and you feel like people think you're lazy.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And so you did law and you did some stuff with ACLU.
Yeah, and legal aid here in Bradenton. Yeah, with Lisa Cochran. She was my mentor. Okay. Yeah.
And then so you still got your fix on working in the community and working on social issues, having a lot of human interaction.
Yes, and it was it was also trying, to be able to function at that level. And do basic things like laundry and housekeep and, take care of the kids. It becomes really overwhelming and frustrating for me because then I feel like, well, I have to, take care of the kids and do the laundry and this stuff. But then I feel like I have no value at the end of the day because I have no energy left for anything else,
And so then you went from being a lawyer. Mm-hmm. Then
to being basically going full-time mom,
and then there was a turning point. There was a turning point where, again, you found something that you could kind of do on your own terms, given your situation and your circumstances. Yes. And I wanted you to talk a little bit of how that came about because it's an interesting story how the incentive and the passion for writing this book, how that all came about in the journey that you were on.
Yes. So in terms of children's books, I love children's books. When I had the girls, I started going to amightygirl.org, which is the best.
Amazing.
Right?
I am
so good.
To that site.
Right, yeah, it's the best.
I share all their stuff.
Yes, yeah. So I had this amazing library full of these empowering women, and I was just so impressed that, there were these amazing books out there, which now, like fast forward, Dalena is going to be 12 years later. They're even more amazing. I mean, they're just so, another website, thetinyactivist.com.
I don't know if I've seen it.
It's so good.
The Tiny Activist.
Yeah, they're out of Boston, and just the best books ever. But so I started this collection of books, and when the girls were going to school this year, they were in 2 separate schools, and I discovered this thing called Carline, where you end up, if you go too late, you get stuck in this gigantic car line. If you go too early, you have to sit there for 45 minutes. Like, you're in a good spot, but you still got to sit and wait for the bell to ring for 45 minutes. And I was losing my mind. I'm like sitting in the car, I'm snacking